Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Newton.
How are you?
I am doing well.
Excellent. Looking beautiful as always. I heard we have some good news.
Yes, from the time we last spoke, I am a principal of elementary school in Chicago, Southwest Side. I'm the proud principal here.
Congratulations. So proud
Thank
of
you
you.
very much.
So proud of you. That's wonderful. May I ask you to please tell us your name?
My name is Dr. Claudia Ortiz.
Excellent. Dr. Claudia Ortiz. Did I get that right?
Correct.
Excellent. May I ask you to share something you feel comfortable sharing about yourself with us?
Yes, so I want to share that I am the proud daughter of two immigrant parents from Colombia. I, but myself, is an immigrant. I came at the age of 7 years old. I was born in Cali, Colombia, and that is in South America. And my parents were too. And we came together as a family to the United States. We came to Chicago, Illinois. And so my journey as an immigrant came from my family, my aunt. It came from my dad's side of the family. My father became pretty much his mother passed away when he was 14. My aunt, which was the oldest daughter at the age of 17, back in the 70s, this is back 1970s, the story is that my aunt wrote and petitioned a friend of their mother. So let them know that mother had passed away. She is the eldest and has a need to come to the United States, and if they can just sponsor her or take her. And back then it was very easily. So she ended up coming to Chicago, and 10 years passed because it really took that long. My aunt got married, started making sure that she petitioned my father. My father was single at the time, but it takes so much time. Then my father would write to her and say, well, now I have a wife. So then they added my mother onto the papers. And then they would say, okay, now we have a daughter. That was me. And then now we have another one. So it took that long for us to come to the United States. And we came and we settled in Chicago, Illinois.
Why Chicago?
Because number one, that's where my aunt came, and that's where her friend, right? That's where her friend was, and it was where there would be more jobs available as well.
So how old were you when you came again? 10?
I was 7 years old.
7. And what was that experience like to that 7-year-old? Were you afraid? Were you excited? What were the experiences you felt?
I want to say that if my recollection serves me right, I was very nervous. Number one, you're leaving your family. I was just here just with my mom, my dad, my little sister, and we came to meet my aunt, which I had seen before, but we came here alone. Basically, we just got everything that we wanted in 2 suitcases. And that's it. That's what we came from Colombia here. And it was, I think for me, was a very culture shock because I was already 7 years old. I had already been in school there. I was already accustomed to, one thing for me is food. I really, really am what they say, like we eat rice every day. We cook at home every day. My mom did that. So for me, as a child coming to the United States and going into public school, I remember having a really, really hard time with the food. I wouldn't eat in school. And it was because I just wasn't, and I know that a lot of our students can really say, well, the food is not that. But nevertheless, like I was not used to eating a hot dog for lunch. Like that's not lunch for me. Where's my rice and beans? Like, for example, also just the pizza. I remember giving it away to the students that would ask for it. And so my mom was very sweet and kind, and she would make me my rice, my beans, and my potato. Like I love like the boiled potato, and she would make it and package it for me, and I would be the only one looking around like, well, I'm still gonna eat this. And it was cold, but I like my home cooked meal from my mother. So, and then the barrier of the language. I was fortunate enough that I did come and I had bilingual teachers, like they spoke Spanish. So to me, that was like, oh, I could understand it. I'm not feeling like I don't know something, because it makes me feel like wow, when I would go to my other classes, like I don't understand what they're saying to me. What is this person saying? And I was fortunate enough that my teachers, my first 3 years, third grade, I entered third grade because I was seven, but in the summer I turned eight. So then I went to third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade. I had the bilingual teachers, and I understood the language. It was going into sixth grade that even after having 3 years in a bilingual program, I still felt that I wasn't, you're still not strong enough in the mainstream language, which is English. So I did see myself struggling, because then at that point the supports were lessened, and I was like, this is hard. I remember working much harder than anyone else. Like I had to have a dictionary. I had to ask for help with my cousins, because my cousin is a year younger than I, and just asking him for like, what is this day? Like, help me. And I remember having my mom got us encyclopedias. So back then we had encyclopedias, nothing was on the internet. So I would like be looking through it. And so that's what inspired me also to just go into education and say, you know what, let me go ahead and do something for like working with children who are from immigrant status, because really there is a need for someone to know how to support them. And then also working with my teachers who are monolingual teachers, just letting them know the challenges. And that's it's not just cultural, it's not just language. There is a lot of other barriers that can can you can help enhance the student and can also hinder.
So let's start back at the beginning. So you said the immigration process took a long time. So what may I ask, what year did you come?
In 1982.
Okay, so 1982, and now we're in 2022. What took long for in this when you and your family started coming, I'm assuming, was paperwork and politics that were hindrance, right? So you got to have this form, you got to have this, you got to have all your shots, you got to have all these pieces and parts to come in.
Yeah.
Can you describe that a little bit? And then do you have any current data that relates to what immigration is like now? And I know we've seen under the previous president where they were locking kids in tents and crates and all kinds of stuff, taking them away from their parents and all that stuff, where they were trying to make the journey to America. And I want to make this one statement. So America, a new country, but has been an American dream for a lot of people, immigrants from all across the world, whether they're coming from Europe or whether they're coming from Russia or wherever they're coming from. People have always immigrated here for a better life. So why do we make the process so challenging for people to get in? Now, I understand we have terrorists, we have bad people, but back in 82, I don't think the way terrorists are now, it was similar, that the process to immigrate had to be so difficult. So why do you think it was so difficult back in 1982? And are the challenges that immigrants face today, specifically Latinx and Hispanic immigrants face today, similar to those that you faced in the 1980s?
There's many, many challenges. First of all, let's begin by being called an alien. Like I had an alien card, and I'm like, I'm an alien. When you start realizing I'm an alien, okay, that just was shocking. Another experience was that I always talk about identity, right? Like, for example, it took a long time because just because my aunt wanted to make sure that when we got here that this was going to be a place that we were going to stay. They knew exactly, well, at least from her point of view, she wanted to make sure that my dad and she also brought my uncle, which was her other brother, right? And he came like 5 years down later after us. It takes a long time because, you know, they scrutinize everything. They check you out to make sure that you are someone that's going to be here and contribute, right? And and that's what it was. It took a while. It took us a long time because there was a process, and my aunt wanted it to make that way so that we came here and didn't have to face other challenges as some other when we come other there's other ways to come, but this one she wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to go ahead and have the opportunities that eventually one day we could become citizens, right? So that's why it took so long. My experiences coming here, obviously, yes, we came for a better life. My parents made that very clear, and that's why we always valued education and always making sure that we recognize that where we came from and that we always help each other. We always help and we lend a helping hand for somebody else in the same situation. But one of the shocking things that when I came into the United States was that they literally, you come through immigration and you go straight to this room. And I remember them asking me, and there was a translator asking me, "What is your name?" So I'm like, "It is Claudia Cristina Sanchez de Bolivar," right? My whole name. And they just looked at me and said, "What is your father's last name?" And so I said, "My father's last name." And they said, "From now on, you are Claudia." They kept my middle name and my father's last name. So they totally like baptized you again or something because you just my mother's last name no longer was in my name.
And
So
your
my new
mother's last name is a part of your culture, right? To keep your mother's.
right, correct. That is how we are, but all of us just all of us had to just use one last name. They said it was too long and that's how they wanted to do it.
Wow. So here
Yes.
we are. So in 2020 and parts of 2021, we heard about immigrants coming in from like Guatemala, Mexico, all kinds of places, and being put in what amounts to a detention center, specifically young kids. Young kids. I mean, like your age as you were when you came here. What is the impact of that? So you talked about how traumatizing it was to come because of culture, language, food, and all of that. But what happens when you're separated from your parents for whatever reason they believe they should have done that? What happens to that child's mental and physical well-being when they're being separated like that? And was there a time during your transition where you ever separated from any of your family members?
You know, luckily I wasn't. My family, my mom especially, and my dad made the agreement that when if that's why it took again, it goes back to why it took so long for us to get here because they wanted it. We already have a family. It took so long for the process. And my dad kept saying, well, now I have a wife, now I have a daughter, and now I have another daughter. So it was very important that they didn't separate the family. And that's why it took so long too, because they said if it doesn't go for all of them, then we're gonna stay in Colombia. And that was it. Is it traumatizing for children that are coming to the United States? Definitely. That I cannot even imagine what it does to the social emotional health of a child and the traumatizing effect that that has. I think that they need to improve on immigration reform. I really do think that they need to consider that that should not be happening, separation of families, especially with children, and definitely not making them feel that they're doing anything wrong because they want a better life.
Excellent. So tell me, so as an administrator and a teacher, I'm sure you have immigrant students that come into your classroom and come into your facility. What are the steps that you go through to make them feel at home and that they belong? And how do you transition from being an immigrant to being an American? I know that was two questions, but
So to make someone and my students, I've always had, since I started teaching, I've always been a bilingual teacher. And because of my own experiences, I always made sure that I have built community with my students. One of the ways that I've done it is like I learn from where they're from. And it always happens that, you know, in the majority are coming from Mexico and some of them Central America, but I make a point that I want to learn where they're coming from. And even if we are from different places, we still share our classroom as a community, as a safe place. I work a lot on making sure that I decorate the classroom with like their flags from where they're from. I make sure that we understand. There's been times in my career where I've had African American students, I've had Polish students, I have had bilingual students, because that is what sometimes the need arises in the classrooms that we get are mixed. And it's just about how the teacher makes them feel welcome, feel appreciated, valued, and involved, learning about the culture, learning about them, honoring and celebrating, not just on special occasions, but just throughout the whole year. How do you embed in your own curriculum? How do you embed these lessons that are going to be impacting? And that's how I do it. And also for as an administrator, making sure that how do I support the teachers in, like right now, putting a video together to share with the students, in making sure that we are receiving culturally responsive teaching strategies. If there's some professional development they want to attend, like supporting those efforts and making sure that, yeah, everything starts with that culture of the culture and climate of your classroom, building community, understanding differences, not make like basically not making misconceptions that if a student is not looking at you, that must mean that you're not respectful. Sometimes in our culture, that's actually a sign of respect. So just asking, or not really asking, but just like learning about the students and the students' home life can make a big impact in your classroom, and understanding coming from an empathy point of view as well.
So does your school have programs that have been developed by you and others at the school that help transition students that are coming to your class new from other places, and to help them understand how to navigate when they're away from your school? Because of course, when you're in the school, you're sort of like in a bubble, but you eventually go out of that bubble, and all the terrible things that happen at a minuscule level in the bubble happens at a much larger scale outside the bubble. So how do you develop programs or things to help your students navigate that?
That's amazing question, Dr. Newton. So our school is 80% Latinx students, and our newcomers we are a dual language school. We are in the beginning steps of it. We have up to first grade that is dual language. So that means we are teaching in the native language, developing them in that. We also have a bilingual coordinator who greets our families, meets with them. I would meet with them, welcome them, let them know how they can reach out. We have a community representative that speaks Spanish and is always in connection. Our teachers, from monolingual teachers to our bilingual teachers to our staff, everyone, we are very much involved in the social emotional learning of students, and we are constantly doing peace circles with them. We are constantly um, thinking of better ways to support our families, not only just the immigrant families, but also all families, making sure that we are there, that bridge between the home life and the school. We support them with language instruction in their native language. And if as they're moving up in the grade levels, we have our bilingual specialists who come in and co-plan or offer support in Spanish for our families and our students, especially. We have lesson plan or resources that are shared by our bilingual coordinator to our teachers so that they can therefore assist them and plan with them.
Excellent. Thank you. That sounds like a wonderful program. And it sounds like you have good resources to help you pull it through, to get it done. So tell me this, from the perspective of being an immigrant to being a teacher, to being an American, to being a principal, all of those steps, how have they shaped your views about immigration? And what would you add or take away from what we know as traditional immigration to America?
I definitely think that we should be, again, just valued for what we bring, and we enrich what is already here. We support a lot as new community members. how should it change? Definitely, there needs to be like that reform that I talked about, so that there could be a path to citizenship, especially for families that are contributing towards, they build homes here, they build families here, they are abiding citizens, and maybe having different perspective, just not always coming from a place of, I want to say, generalizing, maybe looking at people as individuals as opposed to collectively, immigrants are this, or this is what I know of them to be. We come with very different backgrounds. We come from different areas of Latin America, different experiences, different reasons why we came to the United States.
Right.
There's even there's always a different reason why people came. So,
Absolutely.
but at the end of the day, it is always to build a better life, because unfortunately, our countries, the people that come is come to work, they come to afford into the community. I know that for my country in Colombia, there's a lot of people after certain times, they flee because of what was going on with the just the wars on there too. There's a lot of violence happening, and so people are looking for better lives and hoping that we can improve everything that we come together to do.
Absolutely. And what's really amazing about countries that are considered third world or economically disadvantaged countries is why. So every country I know has some industry that would make them a very affluent country, but others come in and they take, colonial rule. You've got all of these things that have happened to it that eventually brings this country down to a poor country, or to have not all the resources its citizens need. And it seems like to me, all the people who plundered through these countries over the years should do things to make the countries whole again, so that they don't have this place where people can live. Because I don't know where I came from. I'm sure that they stole my relatives from somewhere in Africa, but I might want to go back there, but I don't know where to go. It's not a place where I feel I can live and exist successfully. So, but Africa, like Colombia and all, have beautiful resources that are there. But the countries have been pummeled to nothingness, people taking away those riches and leaving that country and bringing them back to their home country. And then they have a bunch of people who are now disadvantaged, and they don't do anything to make them whole again, and they make it difficult to come and find that better life.
I think the important part that I want to leave anyone with is the fact that no matter where you came from, you what do you bring as an immigrant, and lead with that. I've been able to help a lot of people for themselves, like the spell that, yeah, I come from Colombia, but let's talk about like soccer players, musicians, let's talk about important political figures, as opposed to the what the media always seems to be portraying, and unfortunately is a sad part of what my country is, right? So I'm very happy to say that that's not how I was raised. My parents were always very culturally responsive with me, and making sure that me and my sister and I made sure we were reading, that we were doing what we needed to do, that we were cultivating our identity, and making sure that we were going to be productive citizens of society. And so I became a teacher, I became a school principal. My sister is studies physics, and she is in doing a master's in literature. My other sister is in the health field. So we want to make sure that we honor what our parents came here for, and we don't disappoint them.
Absolutely. And not only that, we do have to acknowledge that you are Dr. Ortiz, not just a principal, not just a teacher, but you went and got your doctorate degree. Talk about how hard that was.
That was definitely very challenging, Dr. Newton. As you know, just the whole process, you look at it, and I've never honestly in my life, when I came here 7 years old, thought, oh, that is my dream. I'm going to be a doctor. It didn't happen that way. It was about short terms, and looking like, I look at it when I really did get it, I'm like, you know what, it's going to be something that I can show students that sí se puede. I'm always going to say that one because that is a very good, sí se puede. You could do it if that is what you want. And the reason I did it is because it does offer me the opportunity to be able to be more able to understand concepts, be able to look at it from a bigger perspective, and be able to model and be an example for not only just Latinx students, but all students, because that is what my role is. And I want to see each and every child succeed
Yeah,
and inspire them.
absolutely. And so what's the message now? What is it that you want to leave us with? What do you want us to walk away? What do you want us to ponder? What do you want us to do, act? What do you want us to help? How? What is it that you need from us?
I want to make sure that my students are learning. They have wonderful teachers like the one that we're going to be that is doing this unit. And I just want them to be able to take those, look at the book that they're going to be reading, Enrique's Journey, and see some connections, perhaps not with their own, because they are more, some of my students that can be second generation immigrants. So they can go back to their parents and make connections, ask the questions so that you can get a glimpse of what it might have been. There might be some correlations. There could be some other, it just opens up your world when you're reading, because they're reading nonfiction text in a classroom. And I think that this is such a great opportunity that my teacher decided to put videos together and share from the community immigrants' perspectives. So I hope that my students can definitely take this an amazing opportunity and learn from all of us. And they can feel free to always come to me and ask me any questions they like, and love to chat.
Absolutely. I think, Dr. Ortiz, I think there's a book in you somewhere about your journey. I think you need to put this story on paper so people can read it and hear it, because we're only touching the fringes of it here. But I mean to go into that journey, and that journey to success. And that's really what it is. Because I mean, like, from coming to America to becoming a teacher, coming to Chicago, becoming a principal, to doing this work that you're doing now. I think that's a beautiful journey, and people need to hear all of it so that they can use this to navigate their own journey.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for saying that, because yes, I am a product of the Chicago public school system. And, you know, just in general, like the odds were against me. Like, didn't speak English very well. I had to learn, I had to do this. There's definitely a lot of challenges that I had to face, but I love challenges. It's just because I love solutions and I love thinking. I always think in advance, like, how would this be great? And yes, I never know. I may have a book. I think my life may be interesting to some.
It's interesting. It's
Thank you.
absolutely interesting. I mean, your journey is profound, and I think people should know it, because I think that a lot of times the stories get lost in the exterior, whatever the cover is, right? So you're Dr. Ortiz, you're a principal. Your story gets lost in that, right? Because you've made it, check the box off, you're successful. But every day that journey took a little bit out of you, made you stronger, made you a fighter, made you determined, made you an advocate for children and people like you and people who are coming into situations like yours. That's a pretty powerful story. And so just to cover it up and say, I am Dr. Claudia Ortiz, principal, doesn't a short story, because I think it's so much more than that.
Thank you. And you said something very profound to me, because I know that people that are close to my very close circle, they know that I've always said that my success, their success is my success. Like, honestly, I really think that if my students succeed, I definitely want to connect back again with them. I've been in education for 23 years, and I can tell you that I go anywhere in Chicago and I see a student. One time I was downtown and they're like, "Hey, you were my sixth grade teacher." I'm like, "Oh my God, yes, I was. How you doing?" And they're like, they'll tell you stories. So I want to make sure that every time I connect with a student, it's like, "How are you doing?" Like, I want to make sure that what can we do to help you successful in school, because eventually your success is our success. Letting them know that peer pressure is real, everything out there is real, and that you do have to make sacrifices. Like maybe I can't go to that party, or maybe you shouldn't be doing that because it's not going to be a healthy choice, right? So I'm very excited for our students to be like learning about Enrique's journey and then connecting it right back. And I'm going to be a listening ear for them.
Absolutely. I think that you are perfect for this. And I am so glad you came back to chat with us again. I'm so happy to hear this part of your story. Continue to tell the journey, though. Don't stop. Continue telling your journey, because it's beautiful, it's painful, it's happy, it's rewarding, it's everything. And it's all of our journeys. We all live that way. And I think yours is so special and so beautiful. So thank you so much for that. Absolutely. I will send you a link once this converts. Please watch it and let me know if I can upload it. And please, please stay in touch. And if we can help you in any way, please let us know.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Absolutely. I'll reach out. Thank you.
Dear.
Have a good night.
Bye. Have a good day. Bye.